In the previous episode,
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Rose! Hello everybody, welcome back to The Letter. In the previous episode, Marianne met Rebecca. That's all I can remember anyway. Let's get into it. Oh yeah! Alright, in the previous episode we were going to talk to Isabella and hopefully cheer her up. I kind of want to improve their relationship. The relationship is really bad right now, so... I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the girl, the young woman though, it looks like she has a lot on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? You have something to say? I don't have time for this. Come on, let's be nice. I give her time to speak up. But when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
I turn the game audio up a little bit. I hope that's okay for you guys. Please let me know if it's too loud. I mean, it's gonna be a while until you can let me know, but whatever. As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do.
Okay, I'm gonna turn down a bit.
You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
Wow, 7 years.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
She really isn't too professional, is she? I can't help but wonder why she was assigned to an important sale like the Ermengarde mansion. I would say she's too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself. Her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. I'm pretty sure they said the other realtors were, like, going missing or something. I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself as one, and if Miss Cooper hadn't vouched for her. Why, she looks like she'd still be in college. Acts a bit like it, too. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property. I don't even know what to make of that whole meltdown that happened with that strange document. If I were the client, I would have been very upset. She'd be in hot water for it.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Wow, you're a little judgmental, Marianne.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Oh my god, is this what happens when your relationship is bad? Fucking hell. Maybe I took that a bit too far. Yeah, you fucking did. You called her unprofessional. She bites her cheek and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there. And if I were a bitter person, I would have snapped at her. You didn't become some famous artist to be fated by the art world like you thought you would be, big whoop. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment, the recession and the toll it took on the construction industry was out of anyone's control. She got this job to help her family, right? I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being an art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place. And the sooner she figures that out, the better. There have been a lot of story updates. Still, with that forlorn look at her, I can't help but sigh. Fucking apologize. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger. Wait, how old are they? Isabella is 28 and Marianne is 30. She's 2 years younger than you.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh.
Are you sure?
I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it.
I'd like to see Isabella's art.
The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about.
One thing that is very common in the art world is that you can make a beautiful piece of art with a pencil and a paper. You do not need all of these expensive pieces of tools and equipment.
If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not. Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid.
Grow up, kid. Give a piece of advice to the younger you.
Either go for what you want, Or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable. Then by all means.
Tough love, Marianne.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. Sheesh. Saturday, October 22nd, Marianne visited BRC to pick up the floor plans. She was assisted by Isabella Santos, and the two shared a brief talk about art, which ended with Marianne leaving a piece of advice to Isabella. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she has said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It's clear there's more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself and her choices in life. Or is she expecting me to dish out more of that advice? It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the realty office as quickly as I can. Though I'm able to keep myself professional at all times does not mean I like it. That was not professional. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realised it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday, no fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long time, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. October 24th, Monday. Right. Isabella found Beruthiel. They did the blessing. Rose died. Isabella drowned herself in work. And this is when she ran into the ghost in the office. Monday couldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before the last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'd want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did at these rich times, based from my experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. Okay, I like the pragmatism of Marianne, but I don't like she's actually kind of just mental and bitchy. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me, and I'm sure she was going to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm safe from being paranoid when they went off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The Wrights lived at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme, when it comes to condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks, just to secure a key card, not only because of building management, because of the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime and not visiting a client at their home. Even with their personal assistant, called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil... Johans! The elevator doors open. The elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than Whiskey's not-so-little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
Johans is the kind of guy that would do anything to fuck over his employer. Specifically Luke. He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pulling out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer. You see? That his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people didn't like him. Accepting the quiet and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes or even 10. I sit in their living room just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing. But then there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise, and I look up expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I am normally not this nosy. What should I do then? I'm gonna save. I am incredibly nosy and curious. I would want to look. In reality, it is probably just Luke knocking something over. I'm going to check the timeline really quickly. Okay, I'm going to let my curiosity win, and we're going to go and check it out. The crash came from the hallway, and I really shouldn't be snooping about. But it's just concern. Yeah, concern that urges me to check it out. Sneaking a glance at the butler, I continue sneaking off, but...
Excuse me, but where's the loo?
He barely looks my way before pointing his spatula towards the hallway. It's a good excuse as any. And if I'm caught lingering longer than I should, I could just excuse myself and say that I wasn't sure which door led to where. Ooh, still looking into the hallway reveals nothing. I don't see anything that might have caused the crash. The hallway, like the rest of the place, is in pristine condition. There are several doors for not only the toilet but also presumably rooms for their butler and for other members of the staff. As I stand there, however, something feels definitely out of place. One of the doors, the nearest within my reach, stands ajar, and from inside a light flickers incessantly. It could simply be a light bulb that needs replacing. But the thought of it in a place so well taken care of seems off. I think that maybe this is where the crash came from. This looks like a gun. Inside I can spy a radio lying on the floor. Oh, okay. That's probably it, right? Maybe one of the help, in a hurry to get out of the room, knocked it over in the process? If that's all it is, I should really leave it alone. As I turn to leave, the sound of static fills the air, and a man's tinny voice interrupts the silence.
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead.
Why am I still standing here?
Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
This seems familiar, doesn't it?
Authorities are investigating the possibility of foul play.
Marianne fell in love with a girl at school and then the girl killed herself? Like I've heard it before.
Reporting from St. Samthins, Shane McLaughlin of Galway Bay, AM.
That scared me. I recall backing away from whatever that was. What is that angle? Monday, October 24th. Marianne visited the Wrights' penthouse to discuss work with the couple. While waiting for them, Marianne decided to investigate a violent crash she heard. In the hallway, there was something odd. I recoiled, backing away from whatever that was. In the process, I trip backwards on my feet and I wait for the pain of falling flat on my back. But instead I feel a hand on my back and see the smug smile of, ugh, well, guess who?
Oh, don't tell me you're reporting to work drunk, Mint.
Of course I know exactly who that voice belongs to. It just has to be him.
Marianne McCullough, hammered on the job? That would be something.
But...
Wouldn't dream of it, Whiskey. You're allowed to be if you want it, though it's a bit early for it. So thanks for the save.
Really, it is much appreciated. Even though the circumstances during our first meeting were not savoury or wholesome, I can't bring myself to completely look at Mr. Wright in a bad light. Nothing came out of it after all.
It's no trouble at all. I've been told I have a gift for catching pretty ladies, being a great catch myself.
Is that so? Would you say you'll be able to catch if another man were to pitch?
Perhaps, but I wouldn't know. I don't play baseball, Mint.
Right. Of course you don't.
I can't help but chuckle at my little joke, but it looks like it completely went over his head. If he had understood it, I guess it would have been inappropriate. He is my client after all. Speaking of which... Negative, positive? Yeah. I've work to do, sir. Straightening my jacket, I clear my throat and look him dead in the eye. It seems like he likes strong women. He isn't Whiskey anymore, he's just another client that I have to cater for. Certainly, I can reason with him. He might not be such a bad guy, as he didn't push when I told him no. Maybe that night had been a slip on his part. I have to at least make it clear that I'm here strictly on business, and that nothing is to happen between us because of that night.
It'll be Miss McCulloch to you from now on, though. It'd be best if we keep things professional, Mr. Wright. I have an image to uphold, and I presume that the same goes for you. It won't do to have any untoward rumors about the two of us about a night that didn't even happen, no?
I'd like to keep calling you Mint, actually. If we're to convince everyone that nothing happened...
Nothing happened.
That'd be much, much more convincing.
How?
Fine, but I'm only here as your interior designer. Nothing else.
The dead air between us, because it can't be anything else but that, is broken as a lively voice calls out from the loft. Monday, October 24th. A very spooked Marianne accidentally bumped into Luke Wright. Although things were awkward between the two, Marianne insisted they keep things professional and simply forget about what happened nights ago.
Marianne! I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long.
It's been like 20 minutes.
I know we agreed we'd start at 10 o'clock, but mornings just simply do not agree with me. Not one bit. It's been like this since I've been in university.
I am also a night owl. It's 5 minutes to 11 o'clock. These high-end clients sure like to be fashionably late. I'm used to it though. Wait, she spent 55 minutes upstairs. I'm used to it though, much like how I'm used to so many years of hearing people mispronounce my name. Besides, berating or correcting my client would be extremely impolite, and Mary Ann doesn't sound too bad when she says it. To be fair, it doesn't seem like she's late on purpose.
I see you're up, darling. You know, you could have woken me up as well. Were you showing Marianne around? Not that there's much to see. This place is so tiny compared to the mansion.
I'm more worried about the way she stares at me, judging, such a look. It doesn't suit her pretty face at all. Just seeing Mrs. Wright reminds me too much of her. And maybe I'm starting to hear her again, see her again when I shouldn't. I should have left it all behind, forgotten it. To think she would be looking at me that way, I can just feel my hands tremble.
Oh yes, just showing her around and getting to know each other. Isn't that right, Marianne?
How can you hear the difference?
Yes, of course. And your butler was making breakfast a while ago. So if you want to get right to that...
Breakfast would be lovely.
There is no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it is too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be really terribly rude to deny their invitation. Besides, the pancakes did look and smell heavenly. Okay, those do look really good. A bowl of clotted cream, fruits, syrups, jams, and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for a colourful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar. Wow, that's boring.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and... whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I feel like you need some sort of license and you have to apply for government things if you wanted a helipad, surely.
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners.
I'm pretty sure his name was Sir John.
Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with...
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past do not have us this involved.
I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or place for it, however. Instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
It's called a balcony, Luke.
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts.
Oh, for a mistress.
Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde. Which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion. But do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just assumed all rich people had walk-in closets.
Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
Yeah, Rochelle.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
The guest room and the study? That's huge! That's bigger than the master bedroom!
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theatre. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
Right next to the entryway?
What for? You can park your cars outside.
Also, imagine going into the foyer, left into into the garage, and then threw that into the kitchen. That makes no sense, Luke.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
Did Luke just get significantly more muffled?
That's sleeping quarters for the household help.
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again.
Randomly went to the models.
Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Aww.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless. He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too, and I'd dance, and it was just...
Mr. Wright playing the piano? I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright said so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theatre, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Fuck, don't get me involved in your fucking spat. Right, I guess we will find out on the next episode what happens. So, plus Hannah, plus Luke, right? Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Let's see what happens on the next episode. Let me just check really quickly. Hannah's and Luke's relationship are actually... You can't see. They're actually the same. But I like Hannah more than Luke, even though Luke is like funny in like a fuck you kind of way, you know what I mean? He's like the character you love to hate. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!